Shaila.
That's not-
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. And we are back again with another epic episode of the LNR podcast. My name is SK, aka Uncle SK.
Okay.
So sibuyile. Thank you ukuthi uvulile la. Ukuvula kwakho nje kubalekile. So yeah, sibuyile. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, do the right thing, man. Yeah. Ladies, ninjani?
We're good.
How are you? Siyaphila mama, siyaphila.
Awesome.
Njani weekend? Your week. Njani?
Just thoughts. Mine was
Fifi.
mine was rough.
Was it rough?
Yeah, like I had a hectic week.
What was happening, mom? This and that.
Yo, like where do I even start?
Yeah.
Inking and just adulting.
Ne.
Yeah.
Inking
Oh,
and
but
adulting.
as
Honestly, because
steady.
like you never rest. You're thinking, oh, this is finally going through, and then something else just
Comes up.
uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. No,
rough
I think
one.
I right.
rough and tough one.
Sizawukhuluma ngayo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, my week was okay, but yeah, it didn't start off on a great note. So
Okay.
yeah, but we move, man. Soldier on.
Are
Dust
we
ourselves.
gonna share?
Why uti right? I don't understand. Why are you saying
I think ihamsana with today's topic. I think izosenza ukuthi sibe aligned with the topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. So today as ngisho, the topic is mental health, mental illness, depression, zonke lezi zinto lezo, the shebangs.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what do you guys understand about mental health? Fifi?
Okay, so I feel like mental health is such a huge adulting problem.
Yeah.
I feel like mental health is such a huge thing right now, which for me for one, I appreciate her because it means like now we are aware of ourselves. We are aware of izinto that put us in a space where we are not our best selves.
So you're appreciating the
I
awareness.
appreciate the awareness
Sure.
of mental health,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like for the longest time, probably basic lezinto, but maybe our parents never knew how to like define them. They didn't know
Sure.
what it was. So I'm glad Uguti now we are a generation that now understands Uguti, oh, like I'm feeling like this and like this and like this, and that's not normal for me.
Sure.
So maybe I should seek help. Maybe I should speak to someone. Maybe, so there's that awareness of angiko right, and therefore because I'm not okay, let me seek the help that I need. And also I feel like because we know what to call it, it's no longer uyahlanya.
Oh yeah.
It's no longer like, hey, Lona, like,
Azithi mzala.
yeah, zithi mzala, kind of like halisebenzi kahle,
Zinisukile.
So I also appreciate that we now know, like, we can put words to it. With like, I'm depressed, or like I suffer from anxiety. Although I sometimes feel like we throw around the words very loosely.
Yeah.
Like you're sad, and then you're like, oh, I'm depressed. No, you're not depressed. You're
just going through
sad. You're going
something.
through
Yeah.
something. Like mental health is such a deep thing.
Sure.
It's not just okay, namhlanje ngisaid, and then therefore that means I am depressed. Yeah.
So to what Fifi is saying, Fufu, would you say, let's say being sad can maybe trigger your already existing mental health?
Definitely.
Because now, as you say, it might be that you are sad today,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but now that you being sad triggers something bigger than being sad. Maybe it triggers all the emotions that you've suppressed.
Why
maybe.
are you sad, essentially? Is
Yeah,
that what
yeah.
we say? Yeah. And when you
Yeah.
start digging into the why,
Yeah.
then a lot of things starts
Yeah.
surfacing.
Surfacing.
Yeah. Even if you are, yes, maybe there's something relevant for that time when you were sad, but because you are sad, the feeling of that or your depression, vuga, because now I don't know how to explain this, but you feel like, let's say you are sad for whatever reason. Yeah. Now that feeling leyo, for whatever reason, okuthi sad for you, mhlambe bakwatisile emsebenzini or whatever, but it triggers the the
Yeah.
other feelings yokuthi bowasuppressile.
But I also feel like that comes with reflection.
Yeah.
Like, cause now I'm sad because ningkwatisile lana, you know, I'm just sad because ningkwatisile. But the minute I start pondering upon it and digging deeper, like what's vele laba bayankwatisa, vele bahlale bayenza so, vele na last week ufufu wenze so, vele mina abantu abangilaleli, nasekhaya banandaba, vele, you see. So the fact that you're now reflecting and you're digging and
Post
puts
past
you at,
experiences,
yes,
yeah.
it can get to a point where
Also, okay.
Yeah, true. Yeah, everything that Fifi said, because I mean, it stems from somewhere,
Sure.
you know, SK. And I think we are human beings who deal with a lot of things, and we don't get to sit and be mindful of whatever it is that we're dealing with at that time. Kind of like what Fifi said, Uguti, I may be upset because maybe you said something to me that was hurtful.
Sure.
And there's someone 10 years ago who said the very same thing to me.
Right.
But because I didn't deal with it at that time, you know, I just brushed it under the carpet. This is why now it is a constant trigger, you know, in my life. Every single time someone knows what to give me, yo fufu nanamhlanje usakhuluphele, I've dala ngakhuluphala, you know, and I'm already aware of it, because there's certain things that happen already when, if you're already looking down on yourself as a person, as an individual. For instance, I'm gonna make an example with my weight. I've always been this size. You know, there were people who are aware of it and who also wanted to remind me of my weight. I'm already aware of it, and the fact that I'm incognizant of it is because I don't like it myself. Now, if you're gonna pinpoint it as a person, then now it becomes a trigger. Give me, because number one, ngizibonile.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know, and now the fact that you're gonna constantly remind me about this, now it's it kind of it plays all the time, and this is why it's gonna keep on surfacing. You know, every single time. So I think we get triggered because there are certain deep-rooted issues that stem from somewhere. You know, that we never healed from back in the day.
I like what you say, Guti, like somebody might mention something that you have been struggling with or that somebody had said, umncane. There was actually a video that I came across, and they were literally asking like people in old age homes, what's the most hurtful thing that someone has ever said to you? And most of them literally made reference to their childhood. I'm talking about 78-year-olds, 80-year-olds, like abogoga nabomkhulu abadala. And somebody's gonna say, somebody said my ears were big. They would tease me about that, cutting imncane. And I feel like a lot of the times, which I guess we'll get into when it comes to like parenting and parents and mental health, I feel like a lot of the times it's not that abantu basestratin, but hey, it's the one person that matters who keeps mentioning it. You understand? Because sometimes it's like I'll make an example with this. Like you are, let me paint a scenario rather. Like you are still a kid. You're still trying to figure out who you are, what you like about yourself. And God knows, maybe you didn't even have a problem with your weight. You know, like it wasn't even an issue for you. You know, you were just a kid doing what kids are doing. You know, but then somebody who you care about the opinion yabo then mentioned was I wena unje. You understand? And they kept drilling it into you. It's not so much about the number of people that were saying this, but it's about that person who mattered, who said it to you. And that thing, because you're still young and you're still trying to like build, figure out your identity, like who am I, you know, whatever. That then scars you very deeply, because then the body becomes part of your identity. Like when I'm always uscabanga as nimkulu now because somebody said it, and not because you are not comfortable with it.
True. That is very true. And because that is one thing I suffered from, you know, from a very young age. Family members, you know, who would say like ukulpele, and I'm already aware of it. I mean, you know, like with my peers, with my friends, like I've always been a big chubby girl. And for certain family members to actually remind me of that, you know, it took one person. It took one person my dad, who constantly said to me, "You're beautiful. You are." You are absolutely beautiful the way that you are, right?
I love dads.
Yeah,
hey?
no, he made sure to
Yeah.
tell me that you are absolutely beautiful. I love you. So everything that I was hearing outside the world did not even matter, because this one person
Yeah.
who sees what he sees made me. And I'm also starting to realize, I could see, hey, you know what? If you have a problem with it, that's cool. I'm just
That's
going to
you.
embrace it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to embrace it.
I absolutely love dads, Shem.
Yeah.
I loved, and I feel like when I don't know, to like our viewers out there, it's like when you're parenting a girl child, like we take so much value from what our
Definitely.
dads
Yeah.
say about us. I remember, Mina, it still happens even in my adult life. Mina, my dad once said to me, "You know what I like about you is that even if you gain weight, you still keep the shape. Like
Yeah.
you still look gorgeous." And it stayed with me. Like, and for me, no matter what he says what, because my dad said.
Yeah.
And he said it once.
Yeah.
He only said it once. There was also a time where like I cut my hair. I think this was even last year or the year before that, like of recent. And he was in Polokwane, so I went home in Polokwane to visit. And then when I walked in the door, he's like, "You know how long I've wanted that cut
Yeah,
for? Look
yeah.
how much it suits you, right?"
Yeah.
And then my aunt came, and then Aunt Magafiga, he was kind of like, she was kind of shading. Yeah, but she's like, "Oh, la hairstyle when you malanga." It didn't matter.
It didn't matter
And it didn't
because-
matter because my dad said. And had he not said that, I know I would have felt some type of way. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
You know, or you don't have, like, it didn't faze me. I didn't have to reply back to her. I didn't have to say anything because my dad said,
You already
"You are
said it. You're gorgeous.
And that's it.
Yeah. And that's
You
the
know?
only thing that matters, at that time.
So I think even the same as like when I was saying Uguti, it takes one person to say when usdula, and then constantly, and then that cements,
Yeah.
right? It also takes another
one
person,
person.
to say,
Yeah.
"You're gorgeous."
So, siyabathanda bobaba.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
we do.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yo.
we do.
Beautiful.
We do.
So, before we singena kuyo kakhulu, I would like to just be personal. What was that moment where you were like down? You felt like, yeah, no, this is too much for me, for you, Fifi. I'll ask both of you. Where you felt like, yes, Ganjan, it's either I'm depressed or before we define depression as we go with the conversation.
Yeah.
When was that moment where you were like,
I think for me it was the one time, and it might seem light,
Yeah.
like as I explained it, right? But it was work. Like it was work. I was in a job that I didn't sign up for. Number one, absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
Loved the environment, hated what I was doing. And the thing was, I wasn't interviewed for the role that I ended up being
okay,
put into.
Yeah.
Right. So when they interviewed me, it was a different thing that I'm sure I would have absolutely loved. It's like creative. It's. And then the first day I start my job, they're like, "Oh no, we happen to employ these people, abanengi, so you would fit this role as well.
Yeah.
So you go into this role." I hated it. Like I would wake up in the morning and I'm like, is there an excuse for me not to go today?
Yeah, not to
Like,
wake up, yeah.
Is there an excuse? And I think the sad thing was that it was binding. It was a binding contract. So I couldn't leave. If I left, I would have had to give them about, I think it was 36,000. Because I was studying and I was working at the
Yeah.
same time. And I remember it was the only time that I had a thought of suicide. I still remember Gnamapilis where I think it was it's a flu meds.
yeah,
And I just looked at them. I'm like, like I live alone in this apartment. I could really just drink these things and just be gone.
Yeah.
And I literally feel like God intervened in that moment.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I think I end up even chucking them out. But it was the one time that I even felt like it was better to not be here than to deal with that every day. You just wake up and your heart is heavy and you're thinking, like, I don't want to go. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't want to be there, but then I can't leave. So what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me.
Fufu,
Yeah.
talk to me. What's good?
Sure. I think I have not. Yeah, man. I think it would be definitely my teen years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particularly a time when I got pregnant at a very young age. So, like my dad is like literally my biggest supporter, right? But at the very same time, very strict stone
He's your
Zulu man,
dad.
right? Very strict man who obviously at that time wanted the best, for me, right? And I get it now, like 100%. Like I get it now because there were so many things that he probably went through in his childhood life, and so many mistakes that he has done, in his life, and he didn't want me as
To go
to go through the same thing. So I think he did the best in his ability to try to preserve me, as a teenage child.
Yeah.
To not doing these very same things because he's a guy he knows, especially
Yes.
when you are now start exploring this whole relationship and dating and finding interest, in guys. So I remember I had a very tough teenage years with him to a point where I didn't understand him, as a dad because I was feeling, man, this guy, why is he always on my case,
Making my life difficult.
Yeah, making my life difficult at that time, but he's trying very much to, preserve me and try to, to kind of teach me, hey, don't do that because these are the repercussions or these are consequences of, this what might happen. So at some certain times I felt like, Hashin Baba become street and Baba become Shayan. And that's like you knew.
Yeah.
Like once you
Telling
do
you.
something wrong, yay.
You're gonna get some.
You gonna
Going
get
down.
it. You gonna get it. And yeah, I feel like at that time that was a tad too hard, for me, harsh for me, because I feel like young shy, but come on, man, do I need to go through this, every single day? And at that time, it developed certain feelings, where I felt about him at that time. I think there were times where I was like, you know what, I'm so over this guy. Like, I can't deal, because he as a father is trying to protect umntanaike. I'm just feeling like you doing this a tad too much. Like, allow me to do this, but I can't because I'm thinking I know everything at that time and I don't, and he knows better.
Yes.
And I think the time when I also felt suicidal was definitely when I was pregnant, and the very same person who got me in this position is no longer here. My parents are upset. The entire community is looking at me, is like, look at you. What's going to happen to you? A whole entire you, and this is a person where my parents hold me in such high regard, and now I've not only have I disappointed my parents, now I've kind of made my parents now look bad in the community. With how? When you putting your child in this high pedestal, how could your child now all of a sudden do this?
Yeah.
So I understood at a later stage. Then I didn't, because I felt like, I made a mistake, but there's absolutely no reason for them to treat me like this. But at that time, I did not understand the depth of what I did that like caused this pain to my parents as well. Because I feel like there's certain things that we do as kids as well. Like, we tend to do things and we hurt our parents, and then when our parents retaliate, we're quick to say, "Ish, now I want to, I'm in my feels, I'm suffering from depression and anxiety," because two, this is an expectation for you as a kid. Ukuthi expect ukuthi umzali wakho understand, and umzali wakho angeke aze understand, because your parents is trying to protect you from this. And also, your parent has every right to react that way. So I suffered from that. Like, it took me a while. It took me a while to get it. And also, at that time, it was a very dark place in my life because it had already dented, my relationship with my dad at that time. Now, this is a person who loves me unconditionally. This is a person who tells me every single day that you are absolutely beautiful. Do you know who you are? When I look at you, I look at that. And when getting pregnant, now obviously I've disappointed this man, and now I'm looking at this man. This man does not see me in the same way.
Sure.
So I battled with that a lot, to a point that even now it's still a trigger, guys. 16 years later,
Yeah.
I don't have a second child because I feel like
You're like,
I do not want to go through that again.
Sure.
I really don't want to go through that again. So it's something that I should be healing from at this point. But I'm thinking, I'm just now waiting for this perfect man who's just going to come, so who's going to give me kids. But at the same time, what happens if this now man leaves again? Am I going to go through the same thing?
Sure.
because that's something that constantly plays in my head all the time.
Crazy.
Sure.
So yeah, it's do you guys think Uguti our parents understand?
Can we find your experience first?
Yeah,
Do you
please.
guys
Come on, like Q&A. What's happening with you? What did you go
So-
through?
So do you guys think Uguti
Come on.
so we all go through some stuff
Yeah.
one way or the other. So it depends on how you explain it or how you define it. But I think one moment, okay, I've got two, right? So the first moment is when my mother passed away. I still struggle with that even today.
Yeah.
I try not to talk about it because it's a little bit sensitive for me. So when I think it was 2013 when my mother passed on, I didn't deal with whatever that was happening at that time. A year later, that's when I started dealing with the whole thing. And I crumbled, like literally crumbled. So I think it was around 12 midnight, somewhere there. I just woke up and I cried. During that time, mind you, I'm the
You're leading.
yes. Let's say everyone is looking up to me. Okay, the funeral, the everything. So when she passed on, I cried, but I was like, okay, Shaimoto Habekai. That was the beginning of me not dealing with everything,
with the
right?
grief, yeah.
So went home, did amalungiselelo, saqeda nandani, went back to my life. Started working. If anything, ivela nje spanini ngkhona ngiyasebenza, trying to, I struggled very hard ngokuthi ngibheke her pictures, right? I couldn't. When my brother would post a status, I wouldn't. I ended up blocking him so that I don't see.
Yeah, you'll not be
His-
able to view
yeah.
the statuses, yeah.
Yeah, so 2014, that's when everything came back. Like, that's when I started grieving. I cried every time. So I started checking Tombe Zake, and it helped. It helped a lot. But yeah, let's move anyway. Let's go to the second one. The second one was when I found out my daughter at the time was not my daughter,
That's deep.
right?
Yeah.
So I always say, Uguti, I would have been an easy target to any woman, me personally, because the way in Kulingayo, and I told myself, and nama mistakes engwenzile mangikhula bo, I was like, whatever happens, I'll make sure ukuthi ngizoba khona empilweni zabantwana, regardless of even if kuthiwa akukho imali nani, but I'll always be there. So I became a target because now the woman at that time, it was easy for him because she saw ukuthi kena how I treat my
Your
kids.
kids, yeah.
I don't know, my explanations work. I don't care about them, but what I feel ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi she saw me as a target. Ukuthi oh easy this one. Taningana okay sharp. Asimnike sharp grand. Then years later, then I found out ukuthi the kid is not my kid.
How many years later?
Chills
Yeah.
on my spine.
7 years.
And you've created a bond with this child.
A crazy bond.
7 years.
A crazy bond. Even today, I always say I know Guti. It's sometimes it's not understandable, Guti. That kid, I still love her, regardless of whatever happened, because the bond. And I understand Guti. Mina na ibesinjan. Understand Guti. I might say Guti. I mean, I move on and but I still feel for her. You understand? More than anything, more than me, I still feel for her because what I wanted was to guide her. Guide her, gutabe right empilweni, but this thing happened, and I was like, yo. So for guys, it helps to just cry. It helps. It helps because ezinye zezinto uthola ukuthi can in a long term zikwenzele anger zikwenzele in as much as ngaleso sikhathi I couldn't say or define ukuthi yo I'm depressed or I'm stressed or whatever. So that's why I think we needed to talk about these things so that we understand ukuthi when we call it depression, what are we talking about? Even if Tina, we don't have the answers to say depression, these are the symptoms, but it's important for someone else who let me go and research what is depression.
What is it? Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling down, I can't wake up, I can't go to work. What is it called? Right. So but yeah, it was
what I love about just off topic, maybe we'll go into it another day.
Yeah.
Sure.
But what I love about like what you shared is, number one, what I took from it is that grief appears in different ways.
Yeah.
Grief comes at different times. Because you saying I didn't deal with it, I dealt with it after a year.
Yeah.
Only then was I confronting it and looking at her pictures and whatnot. But what I also like was that even in your pain, like you didn't, like you say, I would see my brother's statuses.
Yeah.
And you didn't say to him,
Stop
posting.
posting.
No, because that means that's how he's dealing with it. But you were responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
okay, if I don't want to see this, so I'm going to block him.
Yeah.
Instead of saying to him, you need to grieve the same
Stop
way
it.
that
Yeah.
I grieve. Don't
Yeah.
post
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. I love that. And I also like from what you're sharing, I'm also getting Uguti. We grieve for different things.
Yeah.
We don't only grieve for death, but we also grieve for, like, now you had to grieve the fact that I'm not your dad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not your biological father. And I need to deal with that. I need to cry about it. I need to grieve it. Grieve the fact that I lost a daughter.
Yeah.
It's a daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, grieve the fact that I lost a daughter, you know, in as much as ukona, but that bond and me thinking, Guti, I am the dad.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, and one thing that helped me, I'm still grateful, Namanje. I know Uti, there are mistakes I've done in my end. So it's something, as I always tell you guys, or masisqedile, or Uti, ezinye izinto engizozishare maybe whenever sithola a certain topic. But I'm grateful for my kids, right? Because even today, even if I figure a suicidal thought, they always come.
Like the first people you think about. Yeah.
And I can't go without making sure they are okay. I can't. So yeah, it's crazy, man. So what mental illness as for someone ongazi, I want us to give someone ongazi uthini mentally bakhuluma ngani la. What is mental illness? In a sense ukuthi okay, asinike nama symptoms. When you feel like this, maybe this is the type of illness. Maybe you are depressed. How do you see someone who's depressed? Let's say I'm a friend and I'm depressed. How can you point out which I yabona la as a keep?
Well, I think also the fact that we throw such words around a lot, your mental illness, mental health, anxiety, depression, right?
Yeah.
And I think, Tina, we are expecting to see someone who is generally sad, someone who's not gonna, talk. Someone's gonna have the very same look you have right now, Fifi. It's like I can't remember the last time I saw Fifi smile. I think we're looking to see, someone who's like that. But I think you are now of the view that you find people who are depressed who laugh every day.
Well,
yeah,
true.
who are okay,
and
who
that
are
is
loud,
dangerous.
and
that is dangerous.
Absolutely bubbly.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, no man, and because sometimes we deal with it differently.
True.
Maybe the depth of what mental illness is and the symptoms, maybe we go through it differently.
Sure.
You might just don't want to leave the house. There's a person who says, I'm just going to deal with it by leaving the house, but ikon, and there are people who are just genuinely want to, because sometimes we mask it,
Yeah.
like you know how this notion about comedians, that you know comedians are the most saddest people and this is why they want to make people laugh.
Yeah.
There are people, I'm not saying comedians
Yes,
are depressed and
yes.
said
Yeah.
no, but I'm saying that there are people who just want to, you know, mask it and be like, I'm just going to generally be a, you know, a bubbly person, but then that's where I get to
One thing,
be with my in my
Yeah.
feels.
I
Yeah.
think one thing I absolutely
Yo,
hate
hate.
about
Ikameni gaga.
hate
Yeah.
about mental illness is that it doesn't have a face.
Sure.
I hate that because it means that people, number one, will not understand. Like your boss at work is not gonna understand ukuthi ufufu akayanga emsebenzini because she's just depressed.
Ah,
Yeah.
labo
You
futhi excuse labo futhi problem yabo, they don't even care. That's the problem with bosses. They don't care. You might be depressed.
But
Kanja,
are we really going to say they don't really care, or are we not making them aware?
Okay. Yeah.
they
of
don't.
it?
I feel
I think-
in my personal experience,
Yeah.
they don't care.
I
Reason
think-
being, reason being, I just told you now that my mother is sick, and the first thing you're asking me, Guti, when in emsebenzini? Why can't you be human and say, go deal with your, more especially in with us black people?
Yeah.
We are very close. We are ngizothini?
In the sense of community.
Yeah,
That makes
and
sense. We try.
uthola ukuthi you are the only person who's gonna take care of your mother. It's not like with other people ukuthi okay ukhono indoda yakhe izomnakekela. Why don't you understand? So I feel ukuthi they just lose the sense
But
of
also remember is that now you came to your boss this morning and you shared, listen, my mother's not well.
Yeah.
I need to take care of my mother, and be like, okay, SK, I totally understand. Take all the time you need. Now ngufufu uyafika naye yazimphatha angekho right. My daughter's going through something. I need to be with my daughter. It's okay, fufu. Take all the time you need. Then
Sure.
the next person comes. So what is generally going to happen to the production of the company? Because there's that as well.
hey,
And
yeah,
also, let's remember that we're also binded by a contract.
sure. Sure, but there's also a human aspect to all of that.
Definitely.
Let's say, as my boss, I've never asked you for such thing. You know
Yeah.
your people.
Yeah.
Yamazi lo tata machansi ukuthi, this one is a chance
Chance
taker.
taker. Yeah.
But you can't say okay, there are people abanjalo. Shoniwe kai. We understand that with us it doesn't really happen that much ukuthi lo qamba manga ukuthi shonelo bani uzobabulale bonke ekhaya. Nah.
Baphila.
Because
But
there's
yeah,
that
yeah,
as well.
exactly.
But I think maybe
Yes.
let's exercise the fact that, kunama leave days, sick
Yeah.
leave, compassionate leave and stuff like that.
Sure.
And maybe exercise that. I think that is given
Yeah.
to us so we can be able to navigate when such things happen, in our lives. But not that they don't care. It's just that, hey, bruh, you at work.
No, you are at work, but I also like, I understand from both your perspectives.
Yeah.
It was like, yes, I am at work, and yes, there's leave, and but sometimes like it's not enough, and I think yes, you have it kind of goes okay. You take, maybe you are limited to 2 days, and then somebody would say maybe like take 4 days
Yeah.
or whatever. So there has to be like a human
Element into
also
it.
to that.
Yeah.
We can't just be rigid because you lost this person. Go Mara. Tuesday, ngikufuna emsebenzini.
Nah.
You
But
understand
also,
what I mean?
feel like it also
But-
starts, sorry to interject, it also starts with, in our families, in our black culture. Because if your very same parents are not going to be aware of the fact ukuthi when you are going through mental health, because tina in the black culture, it's something that we're only aware of it now, But back then, it's not something that becon. I think back then, 16 years ago, if I had said to my parents, as in depressed, depression. You understand how black parents are, nini nini uzivalele kamereni, depression phela singamtrigari, miyekeni izithu uzozigeza makufuna. You know how black parents are. It's not something that had been spoken about, and kind of like what you said in the beginning, it's probably something that they also went through, but they did not know how to deal or were even aware, because they were living in a different generation compared to ours. Because sometimes it is inflicted in a kai, So when it's inflicted at home, now what happens?
That's what I'm saying. Ukuthi, like, I was still saying, ukuthi, like, I hate that it doesn't have a face because bonisi.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, our guli physically. It's not the pain is here. It's not, there's an awi here, you know?
Semoyeni.
Yeah. So, like, it's also very difficult for our parents to understand.
Yeah.
ukuthi, like,
Kanjani,
hey,
uyindlu?
kanjani?
Lo
Like,
uyadla,
what do you
uyadla
need?
une-roof over his head.
Ufunani, like you have everything.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you want? You have everything. But also, like, I think we need to, like, extend grace to our parents because now they grew up in very
world.
difficult circumstances.
Sure.
If you sit down with your parents, bakutshele their story, ngizokutshela ukuthi ngifike secondary ne-teaspoon nje kuphela. And I
Yeah.
had ukuthi ngizibone,
And it was
I had
survival
ukuthi-
mode
it was
at that
survival
time.
mode
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
And I'm sure they've also gone through a point where they felt like, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. But because they had that spirit of, "Ngiyalwiwa."
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Basically
also,
surviving.
Yeah,
Let's survive.
basically it's survival
Ama-depression,
mode.
nama-feelings sawabona, mara manje
Sawabona.
asibona ukuthi how do I get to put food,
Yeah.
you know, on the
Yeah, on
table?
the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there was that. They dealt with with a lot of that. Tina, we are now dealing with. Yes, we know how to put food on the table. We are dealing with our adulting
Yeah.
issues, things
But-
that are happening with the economy.
But I also think like they are so, they are to a certain extent they are learning.
yeah.
And I came across a video the other day. They were saying, be compassionate with your parent because they are also parenting for the first time.
Yeah,
They've never done this before.
true,
Now, but they're doing it for the first time.
true.
So they will slip up. They will
Make mistakes.
make mistakes. The nice thing is that we are a generation that is aware of these things and we can educate our parents. And I feel like as we grow up, like they're so accepting to hear what we have to say. Unlike Lokiana,
Yeah.
you know? Like right now, if somebody said to my daughter, "Indlebe zakho zinkulu," like I can literally say, "Ma, you don't say that to her,
Yeah.
please." Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And they get it, like they get it, and we are explaining also. But no, I'm not like I'm not
Kuthi
like
ungamdlalisi, but, you know,
angithethisi,
yeah.
angithi ungamdlalisi and whatnot. But I
But
know
be mindful
what
of certain
those
things that
things-
you say. Yeah.
No, good even to reflect back to say nami kwayenzeka sona. So
yes.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just making you aware. ukuthi the reason why I'm so vocal about me not wanting you to say this to her is because nami the fact that Beniti Ninje or whatnot, it affected me.
Yeah.
And I think our parents understand. Now my dad once asked me, "Good, Fifi, what is this depression? Like, can you explain to me, Guti, like, what is it? Kusuke kwenzakalani?" You know? And I'd have conversation with my parents around, especially the weight thing. When it's a thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why old people feel like telling someone goodbye gaining weight,
Yeah.
how fat they are is
Yeah.
a conversation starter. I
Yeah.
don't understand.
You know
And
why?
I-
Excuse. Just to come to that. La ngikhulele khona, ne? So it used to happen. Mau usdudla. It's a sign of uphila kahle. It used to be like that. I'm telling you. Fuf, I'm telling you, come on.
Mina,
Bathi bafike la bathi unkosikazi wakho
Wondlekile.
wondlekile. So back then it was like it's a sign of uphila kahle. I'm telling you.
But now,
honestly.
like,
but
I-
once
but-
wehle emzimbeni, it's like, hey, uyakuhluphekisa kwenzakalani.
But now
That
they
was
shun upon it. Like now they don't say it in that context. I understand
get
what
what
you're
you-
saying,
yeah.
but right now they don't say it in that context. Like ooh la nona, like and
Yeah,
and I was
ukhuluphala
telling-
uyaphi. Like you haven't
Yes.
seen me for 6 months,
And
and
what
that's
you- the first
that's
thing
the
you're gonna
first
say to
thing
me-
that you want to address when you see me is ukhuluphala uyaphi. I'm evolving. I'm not the same person I was 6 years ago.
Mina, I'll tell my parents. Because also this thing, you wonder why people don't come to family gatherings.
Yeah.
It's because of such
Yeah.
things. It's because
You keeps me reminded,
Guys,
but-
I am not 12.
Yes.
Like I'm a grown
Yes.
woman. I
Yeah.
won't look the same as I looked when I was 15. So for me to come here, good of how much weight I've gained and how I look and where I've stumbled, and no, I don't
Tani,
expect that when I come to family.
Would you guys say that we have certain expectations when it comes to our parents? Because I think that hurts us is that we are sitting in our fields having these depression sessions and anxiety sessions, and here you are expecting your parents to be like, how shame, like urighty, you know. And I feel sometimes my expectations on our end are the ones that hurt us, because you're waiting for your parents to say, you know what, I'm proud of you. You're waiting for your parents to say, I see you doing this and you're doing great. And because you are not getting what you're expecting, now you have this certain feeling towards umzali because you're not getting what you are expecting.
I would agree up to a certain extent. Ne? Ukuthi, yes, it's important for your parents to say, yeah, you did well. And it's important for us. I think it's something that we need to do more.
Yeah.
Whenever your child does something and it's good.
Achievement.
And you must
it's like, Nana, that is amazing.
We were talking about it yesterday, and then my daughter said, oh, Mommy, look at the stars. And I had to say, yeah. I'm like,
exactly.
What is this?
but also at the same time, we need to prepare them for the outside world, because the outside world will not. They will tell them exactly. So we need to also say, okay, let's make it better.
Yeah.
I love your point.
Yeah.
I love your point.
True.
Because, I'm on my phone a lot. So I keep saying, I saw a video, I saw this. But literally, I was reading through something, and they were talking about how it's so important for us to like affirm our kids because these are the benefits. And so then everyone in the comments is like, yes, it's important, whatnot. Mina, my parents always affirmed Mina this, Mina that. Oh, my parents never affirmed me, Mina bengi so. And this one girl said, we need to also be careful of over affirming.
Yeah.
Because Mina, all my parents did was affirm me to a point where when I went outside and I didn't get that affirmation, when there were no claps, when there was a no, here you are wrong and you're wrong, it was a problem. I couldn't really fully function in society because society comes with criticism and with corrections at times. But because Mina was always the star of the show, I didn't know how to deal with.
True, and it goes to like what you're saying. Ubonile ukuthi ingane it draw a star, but it's not a star. Instead of saying akusista lento le hamba buyelo draw pants, how about to say, okay, but this baby girl, this is how a star looks like. Maybe let's try draw it. Let me help you. Instead of just chucking me away and say aksista.
And also acknowledging that you did your best.
You did your best. You know, instead of now belittling me as a child and telling me that I'm useless. Because also those words hurt. Because maybe let's do away with belittling abantwana bethu and calling them useless. But let's try and teach them. You know, maybe not affirm them kind of every day like you're saying, but be able to navigate to okay, yes, this is a star, baby girl, but you know, star looks like this.
Also making them aware, it's like you because I feel like you can only give the best that you can give.
True.
And I think them knowing Oguti, you gave your best. This is how far you could get, and this was your best. But la aslungise, you know. But yeah, you did your best. You tried. Because also another thing, I feel like abantwana bethu to grow up in a, because you're always saying, yeah, you number one, you, it's always a competition. Like when it's like, I'm number one, I'm number, I didn't do so well, because you know. But to acknowledge Uguti, that's the best that you could have done.
That could you done.
You did your best.
And I feel like sometimes, Nati, we can be a little too hard when it comes to our parents. Because, guys, there's lineages, there's generational curses as well. Umzali makangabukwazi ukuthi eze kumina ngitshela ukuthi ngi-useless. This is something that my parents were told growing up. You know, this is something my great-grandfather or great-grandmother's language that they use. This is why my parents think it's okay for me ukuthi how nambe bangitshela ukuthi useless, but I turned out okay. Maybe let me just do away and do the same thing. So I think, Tina, because we are now more aware of, you know, being hurtful things, being belittled, maybe we need to do better for our kids. Maybe let me break it. It's okay. I don't want to tell my child they're useless, but yeah, girl, uzamile, but azame. senze
Ngendlela
ngendlela enje. You know, how about to say, you know, I'm proud of you. I appreciate you, but let's do good. Maybe you got a 40%. It's okay. It's a pass mark, but let's gun for a 60%. Because you're capable, you know. So now this is where now we break this generational curse from Megamkulu to Gogo to Mama to Baba. Now this is me raising a child. I can now bring that very same generational, you know, belittling that has been happening in my family. Let's do right with our kids. Let's also teach our kids, Uguti, this is how you talk. We don't have a problem with you being angry as a parent, but as long as
True.
Yeah, I think educating our parents as well.
Yeah.
As much as we educate our kids, educating our parents. This is what anxiety is.
Yeah.
This is what depression
Yeah.
is.
Angilelanga ngoba ngivilapha bathi ilanga lifuna lize liphume you understand. So thola ukuthi akelelanga ngokuthanda. So I think another thing esiyidiscussile earlier indaba yokuthi you can't really see ukuthi umuntu depressed. You can't really point out ukuthi ngale ndlela le unje. And I feel ukuthi there are people obonayo ukuthi lo muntu angaphuma ekamereni and they know ukuthi this person is a public person.
Yeah.
Wenzakalani. It's easy to ukuthi ibambe. But the people, that's why earlier I was saying it's dangerous for people who are always happy but they are dying inside. It's very tricky and it's very dangerous because the following thing uthola ukuthi umuntu they commit suicide and we all ask ourselves why? What happened? He had all the money that umuntu angayidinga emhlabeni. What happened? The Ricky story. We all were like, how right? He had the money, but we don't know what he was dealing with. So how do we, Sesival? How do you guys think we should thoroughly show or deal with a depression or show what we are going through it, or how do we communicate that to
definitely
our friends?
Therapy. That's definitely the word on the cards. But I still believe, Uguti, even if I don't book myself to a therapist, guys, talking helps. Talking helps. I could just have a general conversation with Ufifi Ngaphandle and I just let something off my shoulders.
Sure.
Talking helps.
I think
I think more than anything, I like your point here, talking helps. We don't talk as much. We are always on our phones, and there's another self-inflicted depression, mental illness, social media.
True.
It's crazy. That is self-inflicted. Unfortunately, even though it's self-inflicted, we think ukuthi the next person ujabulile, right? Gandhi, they're showing us just the fun side of life in their side. As much as I show my iPhone, nama nama vacation, ziyabuya. Thola ukuthi uyawasebenzela ngendlela othola ukuthi ayimjabulisi emotionally.
I think for me, like definitely one thing to look out for.
Sorry, Fifi. Ngiyaxolisa ukuniphazamisa. Did I disturb you? You were going somewhere.
No.
Ask his.
I was about to talk.
I think you know what happens. Yeah. As ngisho ezinye izinto ziyazikhohlwa and there's a point ngibe like yabona it always bothers me. But ningixolele man. So I just jump in sometimes.
We're used to you.
I think for me you're making me lose my train of thought. But I wanted to say Guti, I think for me one of the important things is to know your people. Know the people that are around you and how they are. Like be able to identify with Fufu now, she's not acting in character. This is not the Fufu that I know. It might not be Fufu uhlala ekamereni akafuna ukuphuma. It might be that she's over bubbly, overcompensating. She's must figure when she's just winning. I should be able to recognize this one is not like this. Right? And also over and above, create a safe space for your people to be able to share with you. Check on people.
True.
Check on people like, are you okay? Just randomly, we get checked. You're like, Fufu, are you okay? You don't seem okay. What's wrong? And she can share with, this and this and this and this happened. But over and above, knowing the people around you,
Yeah.
being aware with okay when something is not right. Number 2, it's checking on your people.
Yeah.
And I think over and above that, just praying for your people.
Definitely.
Because I feel like there's so many things that happen that we are so unaware of. You spoke about generational curses.
Yeah.
It's something that might from generation to generation. Uze bathi ubabakhe wazibulala. Naye
Nobani.
wazibulala.
Yeah.
Nobani wazibulala.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It goes back to-
and these things like we take them like these things we take them very lightly. And it's things that we cannot deal with in the physical. You know, we need to pray about these things. Pray for your friends, pray for your families, like.
And that's something we also underestimate, man. The power of prayer. Yeah, because we think, and we as would see, it's so annoying when you're going through something and someone's going to say to you, pray. Like it sounds so cliche at that time. You know, you're like, hey, bo, did I not just tell you that I'm going through
it.
something? Motyamba repossessa
Yeah.
my house, iyakoleta, and uzongchetting tandaze. At that time, we feel like we want someone who's going to say, this is how I want you to solve your problem. And that's another thing that we overlook. Praying really helps. Like going down on your knee and saying, Lord, angazi kwenzakalani, but
Exactly.
I'm just casting all my burdens onto you.
Yeah. Pray, give each other some love, hugs. You know
Yeah.
the importance of a hug.
hug,
A
true,
warm hug.
true.
Ask your people,
Yeah.
are you okay?
Yeah.
You know your people. Ask them are you really okay? Because ikhona lento sanibonani yebo ninjani siyaphila.
Undlulele, yeah.
Omunye akaphili.
Because also another thing is also, I think the very first step is acceptance.
Yeah.
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 Tell yourself, "Kuti angekho right."
Yes.
Tell
yes.
yourself, "Kuti yazi, I
And-
need to
and
speak to
From
someone."
the other end.
From the other
yes.
end,
Don't
be like,
be
as in this
ashamed.
thing is consuming your life. You're constantly thinking about it to a pooper, like every single day. Tell yourself, Kuti, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I need to speak to someone, even before you get to therapy. Because the therapy now, say deep, because now therapy is going to deal with the deep-rooted issue
Yes.
as why you're going through
Yeah.
this. And the uncomfortable thing about therapy is that you might realize, Kuti, all of these things that you're going through were self-inflicted by you. And you are not aware. Because another thing as human beings, that we're so human, we want to always pinpoint and blame the next
Right.
person and be like, yeah, mara wuye. But sometimes certain issues that we go through and certain decisions that we've made in life were self-inflicted. And therapy makes you realize, Guti, but this
Yeah.
was your doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
But I also think that just that, so because I feel like a lot of the times, yes, we emphasize therapy, and therapy is very, very important. Very
Yeah.
important. But there's only like a minority that can
Afford therapy. True.
So I think just talking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sharing with friends, with whoever. But yes, if you can afford therapy, that is the best way that you can do it.
True. Yeah, hey, esajula.
Yeah.
Esajula emhlabeni kaJesu.
It's a
Esajula.
serious
It is. And
Yes,
it's important
that's
Uguti, as from time to time you sit back and you get to reflect and understand Uguti, you're not perfect as a human being, and sometimes it's pilangama expectations. It's the same struggles we have when we get into a relationship. You're expecting Uguti, just because Fifi has a great relationship, and in a corner you thinking Fifi has a great relationship
Yes.
now, so expect Uguti the same relationship. So I think we need to do away with, trying to be perfect as human beings and be able to reflect ukuthi yeah mara yabola ama decision wami nami angenzanga kahle, and be able
And
to
bese
heal
akulandela.
and be able to heal from them.
Because also I like what you're saying now, because it goes back to lento yokuthi your decisions sometimes ayakulandela and they become the mental illness that nayo lento le itself inflicted.
Inflicted, yeah.
So but we cannot sit again okay, yeah, because it's self inflicted, then now you cannot utolusizo, or we pay attention to
Yeah.
we still need to pay attention
So
to
it's
those
over
people.
and above realizing Uguti, I am the problem.
Yeah.
It's also realizing that I need help
Exactly.
with the problems that I've created for myself. I
Yeah.
need help.
Beautiful. Let's love each other. Be mindful ukuthi kwenzakalani. Culture is social media, I think 90% or 99% of it, it's lies.
It's not
We are
true.
showing izinto ezinhle kuphela,
Yeah.
and let's love each other, man. Hug each other, ask each other, ekuse ugrand, right out right sister, or whatever. So yeah, let's talk more. Culture is social media. I don't know, your last or your final
Yeah,
thing?
definitely. Let's be aware.
Yeah.
Let's be aware of ourselves, our surroundings, and our environments, and create a safe space. Kind of like what Fifi said. Have a group of friends where you know ukuthi yabo mangifike la.
Ah, simnandi. Sisonke.
Ngizohamba ngigrade ngizokhala, but I offloaded, and I think that's something that's very important. You might not have solutions,
Yeah.
but you offloaded, and that's a start.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Definitely. For me, it's pray.
Yeah.
Pray about it. Pray for your friends. Pray for your families. People go through a lot. We might not know, ngeke sikwazi konke, you know, but God knows it all. And if we give it all to Him, He really can handle it for us. So yeah.
Beautiful. So whatever that grounds you, prayer, meditation, but
Yeah.
know yourself. Know where your center
Is.
iyakuyo, and do whatever that it takes to be right, be right. So it has been the LNR podcast. Best Julile. My name is SK. Ngama no Fufu, no Fifi. And it's
We are
goodbye.
out.
Tango.
Bye.